Hi friends, I'm Rohn Strong and it's week 3 of our Tunisian Delight Sampler, Afghan Crochet Along, and I'm so excited because this week we're tackling some more advanced stitch patterns. So let's talk about what a stitch pattern is versus what a stitch is. So we spent the last couple of weeks focusing on stitches. Those are learning individual stitches that you can do with Tunisian crochet. So we covered things like the reverse stitch, the knit stitch, the double stitch, the full stitch, those kind of things. We did touch on one stitch pattern, and that was called the rib stitch. Well, today we're going to combine some of those stitches that we've already learned and some of the other things that we've learned along the way to create 3 more blocks. It's our last 3 blocks of this series. So we're going to do the Tunisian double lace block, the Tunisian cable block, and Tunisian Entrelec. I'm really excited to dive in and to kind of go through all of these with you. Now you're going to need your color B, your color A, your color B, and your color C, and your main color. You're gonna need all 4 colors for today's blocks, all right? You'll be able to follow along in the pattern, which you can get at my blog. It's linked down below. There's a free PDF download for you there. I think that's it. While you're down there, don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you like this video. It's always nice when I know that you guys are loving what you're seeing. So, like I said, these are going to be some more advanced stitches. We're going to take them slow. We're going to build on some of the things that you've already learned in this series. And we're going to kind of wrap up these blocks with a bang. I'm so excited. So make sure you download your pattern, grab all your colors, grab your Tunisian crochet hook, and let's get stitching. So first up, we have Tunisian double stitch lace. Now, it's pretty much impossible to miss this block. It's the bright pink block in the very center of our Afghan. And you can see here on my sample that you get these really great rows of Tunisian double stitches, and in between you get these what are considered eyelets, right? They're just little eyelets. And these eyelets, these spaces, if you will, are formed by working yarn overs. Now, we've worked yarn overs while we've been working stitches, but we've never actually worked a yarn over to create an intentional space. And you create these spaces to give yourself a little bit of a lacy look and feel. So to start this Tunisian double stitch lace block, I've got my foundation chain and I've chained 1, just like we would if we were doing standard Tunisian double stitch. I'm going to yarn over my hook twice. I'm going to skip the next stitch, and into the next stitch I'm going to insert my hook as if I'm doing a Tunisian knit stitch. Now this is going to be different than how we do our normal double stitch, wherein we went through the stitch as if to do a Tunisian simple. We're working as if we're doing a Tunisian knit, so we're going to go through that stitch. I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop. I'll have 4 loops on my hook, and then I'll yarn over and pull through 2 and have 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over twice, skip the next stitch, into the stitch after that, insert my hook as if to knit, and I'm going to pull up a loop, then I'll yarn over and pull through 2. Yarn over my hook twice, skip the next stitch, into the stitch after that, I'll yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. And you can see that what we end up getting are these beautiful yarn overs in between each of our double stitches. So I'm going to go ahead and finish doing that all the way across the row. Now I've reached the end and I've got to my last 2 stitches here. I'm going to skip that next stitch, and into my very last stitch I'm going to yarn over twice, insert my hook into the last stitch, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2. Now I need to work my return pass. In order to work your return pass, you're going to do just what we've done in almost every block up until now. You're going to chain 1 and then yarn over, pull through 2. Now sometimes, well, basically every other stitch, you're going to run into a yarn over. So you have to yarn over, you'll have to yarn over your hook, pull it through the first loop, and then through the yarn over. And you can see on this stitch, I accidentally did a double yarn over. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. We all make mistakes, right? That's why I like showing you guys that even I make mistakes. It happens. Nobody's perfect. All right, so I'm just going to keep going, doing my return pass all the way until I get back to the beginning. And that's all there is, friends. Every other stitch is worked exactly the same. This stitch is really difficult to mess up because you want all your double stitches to be stacked on top of one another. You want all your yarn overs to be right on top of one another. So you're just going to repeat that same row over and over again. Now, one thing to keep in mind, remember to always do your chain one at the beginning of the row and then yarn over twice and insert it into that Tunisian double stitch as if to knit, yarn over, pull up a loop, and pull through 2. Now, when you're finishing this block off and it's reached that 9-inch mark, the way that you'll finish it is just by slip stitching into each stitch across, as if we're doing like a Tunisian simple stitch block. When you come to those yarn overs, you'll just go under that leg of the yarn over that's at the front and pull through into a slip stitch. Then slip stitch into the double stitch, and then into the next yarn over. It's kind of hard to see, but it's right there. You'll go under that and then pull through. And you'll continue that across. All right? So that's how you work your Tunisian double stitch lace. Like I said, it's really difficult to mess this one up. It's really, really pretty. The trickiest part is knowing that we're doing 2 yarn overs before we do our double stitch instead of 1. But if we remember that that 1 yarn over is going to create that intentional space, then it makes it a little bit easier. All right, so next up we have our Tunisian cable stitch block. Now this one is going to take a little bit of finagling, but I'm confident that you can do it. So next up we have our Tunisian cable stitch block. Now this cable stitch block looks a lot more complicated than it is. All we're going to be doing is working Tunisian reverse stitches and Tunisian knit stitches to complete this pattern here. Now every 6th row we're going to do what's called a cable twist. And it's a little bit different than what you've probably been used to doing in crochet and in Tunisian crochet. This is going to be really foreign to some people. For others, it's going to be a piece of cake. But my biggest piece of advice throughout this entire block is just to take it nice and slow, don't get too stressed out. And if you get frustrated, just set it down and come back, because it's one of those things that's just going to click and you're going to be like, oh, that's so easy. So there is an extra tool that you're going to need for this block. Now I'm going to be using an extra crochet hook. This is just a double-ended Tunisian crochet hook that I happen to have, but you can use a double-pointed needle if you have one, like a skewer from the kitchen. Really, you just need something that is going to be about the size of the hook you're using. You don't want it to be bigger than the hook you're using. You want it to be a little bit smaller. So this crochet hook is a size I. You could also use an inline crochet hook. Those are those slender crochet hooks. You don't want to use anything that has a handle or any, like a crochet hook with a handle. So try to find like a skewer or something like that, okay? So to start this block out, we're just going to work 5 rows on top of our foundation row to get us ready. So those 5 rows are all going to be exactly the same. I'm going to show you how to work through that row one time. First up, we're going to work 2 Tunisian reverse stitches. So remember, we're going through the back loop of that vertical bar, or the back bar of that stitch, basically. We want that reverse stitch to pop to the front. And if you need a refresher on how to do the reverse stitch or the knit stitch, you can find those links in the description down below. I've worked 2 reverse stitches. Next, I'm going to work 6 knit stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm going to switch and work 3 reverse stitches. So 1, 2, 3. 6 knit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 reverse, 1, 2, and 3. 6 knit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When we get to our last 3 stitches, we'll work 2 reverse stitches. So 1, 2, and then into the very last stitch, we're going to work our final stitch. Your return pass is going to be exactly the same as we've done it all the way up till now. So you're going to repeat that row, working your reverse stitches and your knit stitches in exactly the same places. Your placement of these stitches is not going to change throughout this entire block. You'll always have 3 reverse stitches on top of one another and 6 knit stitches on top of one another. If you're ever trailing off, you've done something wrong. So go ahead and repeat that row 4 more times, sorry. So I have all 5 of my rows done. And what I want to do next is my cable row. Now the reason we do a cable on the 6th row is because this cable here is 6 stitches wide. A good rule of thumb is that however wide your cable is, that's the number of rows that you have in between each cable. So because this is 6 stitches, every 6th row will have a cable. If it was a 4-stitch cable, every 4th row would have a cable. So to work your cable, you're simply going to work your 2 reverse stitches. And don't worry, we're going to take this nice and slow. Now I get to my knit stitch section. I'm going to work 3 Tunisian knit stitches. I'm going to grab my extra crochet hook or dowel, and I'm going to slip those 3 stitches to that dowel, and I'm going to hold them at the front. This is why it's important to have something that measures about the same diameter as the crochet hook you're using. That's because we're going to go right into the next Tunisian knit stitch. So the 4th Tunisian knit stitch, and then into the 5th, and then into the 6th. Then we're going to take the Tunisian knit stitches that we put on the holder at the front and replace them on the hook, taking care not to twist them. And we want to put them on in the same orientation we took them off. So essentially, the way I like to think about it is, with this cable, we had stitches 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. After we did our cable twist, we now have stitches 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3. All right? So if you look at this and you notice that there's a big twist here, that probably means that you put the stitches on in the reverse order. You did 3, 2, 1. All right? So you need 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. All right? Don't worry, I'm going to show you how to do that 3 more times. We'll do 3 reverse stitches, and I'm going to warn you, this is going to be a little tight on your crochet hook, so keep that in mind. But that tightness is why we chained 30 at the beginning. I knew this block would be a little bit tighter, so by chaining more, I just gave us some extra room to play around with. All right, so we get to our next 6 Tunisian knit stitches. We're going to knit 3. I'm going to take those 3 stitches and slip them to our hook or whatever you have. We'll hold them at the front, and then we're going to go into the 4th, 5th, and 6th Tunisian knit stitch. Then replace those stitches on the hook in that same order. So remember, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3. Okay? Then do 3 reverse stitches. Work your 3 knit stitches. Slip those to the hook. 3 more knit. And when you're using a long hook like this, you can even see with me, I'm struggling a little bit. It's a little fiddly when you have something this long. But it also helps because then you don't worry too much about the stitches falling off. And then replace those loops back on the hook. And now, deep breath. Everyone stop. Take a deep breath. We're almost done. We got through the 3 cables. Now we're going to do 2 reverse stitches and our final stitch. And that, my friends, is our cable row. So let's take a look. Make sure I don't drop any stitches. You can definitely see where we did those cable twists. And you can see that my work is starting already to kind of get a little thick and dense, but that's okay. That's what we want. So your return pass on this is the first time our return pass is going to be different than what we've done so far. So for our return pass, we're going to chain 1, then yarn over and pull through 2, and now we get to that cable. We're going to pull through 2 until we get to the center of that cable, so 3 times. So 1, 2, and I'm taking it very slow, and 3. If you drop a stitch, just pick it right back up, put it right back on your hook. Then, after you're halfway through that cable, you'll chain 1. Okay? Then yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2 across those reverse stitches. Then pull through 2, and again, and one more time to get to the center of that cable. Then chain 1, then yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2 across reverse stitches, and then pull through 2 across those first 3 Tunisian knit stitches. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3, chain 1, and then pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. Then we just pull through 2 all the way back to the beginning until we have 1 loop left on our hook. All right, take another deep breath because we made it through that return pass. So your work will look a little something like this. It's going to look all kinds of crazy, but don't worry, that's what it's going to look like. After you work your next 5 rows after this one, it's going to start to come together. But we need to work this next forward pass a little bit different. So we'll work our 2 reverse stitches just as we've done all the way up until now. But we need to find those next 3 knit stitches and work 1, 2, 3 knit stitches. We'll skip this space from that chain 1 and then go into the next 3 knit stitches. Then 3 reverse, find those next 3 knit. You might have to manipulate your fabric just a touch. 3 knit, skip that chain space and go into the next 3 knit. Then when you're doing your return pass on all of these rows, your return pass will not have that chain 1. We only do the chain 1 on the return pass of the cable rows, and that's to help the fabric from pulling too much. That chain 1 just gives us a little bit of extra space in between those 2 sets of 3 Tunisian knit stitches. After you have finished this block, you're going to want to go around it with your single crochets just like you would on every other block that we've done so far. When you're binding off this row or working that final row, I would just finish it off as if you're doing Tunisian knit stitches all the way across. And if you need a reminder on how to do that, just go back and watch week 1. Well, that's it for the cable stitch pattern. Next up, we have our Tunisian crochet entrelac. And I think you guys are going to love this one because we're not even going to use a Tunisian crochet hook for this, just a regular old crochet hook. I hope you are ready. All right, friends, so the last block of our Tunisian Delight sampler is entrelac. Now, crochet entrelac can be done either with Tunisian crochet or single crochet. My friend Marley Bird does a ton of single crochet entrelac, and I'll link some of her videos below. They're fantastic. I love Tunisian crochet entrelac just as much as I love single crochet entrelac, but I like Tunisian crochet because it gives you a different look and a different feel. But it's also made differently. Traditional entrelac is made by working blocks that are connected as you go. But with Tunisian crochet entrelac, we don't work every single block as we kind of move along. We work in strips. So when you're looking at this block here, we're going to work one strip and then two strips, 3, 4, 5, and then our triangles at the top and bottom to square everything off. Now the great thing about that is you only need a standard crochet hook to complete all of the strips. Sounds kind of crazy, but I promise this is made with a regular old crochet hook. So I've got my yarn and I've got my hook and I'm ready to go. First things first, we're going to chain 33. So just do a standard chain, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3. So we chain 33. In the second chain from the hook, we're going to pick up a loop and work a single crochet. Now, we're going to treat this single crochet as if it's a Tunisian stitch by working into the left leg of the single crochet. So if you look closely at the single crochet, you'll see a right leg and a left leg. We're going to insert our hook and go under that left leg, yarn over and pick up a loop. Then we're going to work into the next chain and pick up a loop. And we'll have 3 loops on our hook. We'll yarn over, pull through 2, and pull through 2. Next, we'll go under the next vertical bar and pull up a loop. Then, treating the next stitch that's in the chain from the previous row, we're going to go under the second leg, that left leg, and pull up a loop. Then, we'll go into the next chain and pull up a loop. We'll have 4 loops on our hook, and we'll yarn over and pull through twice, 3 times. Next, we'll go under the next vertical bar, under the next vertical bar, into the left leg of the next stitch, and into the next chain, and we'll have 5 loops. So we're increasing 1 stitch by going into the left leg of that stitch. Under the next vertical bars, into the left leg of the next stitch, and into the next chain. We have 6 loops on our hook, and we yarn over and pull through twice, 3, 4, 5 times. We're going to go under the next 1, 2, 3, 4 vertical bars, into the left leg of the next stitch, into the next chain, and then we yarn over and pull through 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. That completes what's called our first triangle. We're going to slip stitch in each of those vertical bars across, and we're going to slip stitch into the same stitch, into the same chain as the last stitch that we worked, and pull up a loop. Now we're going to work our first square. For that, we're going to insert and pick up a loop in each of the next 6 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We should have 7 loops on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, 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 and pull through 2. Now you're going to notice that we're not doing a chain 1 at the beginning of that return pass. Never do a chain 1 unless otherwise stated. We're going to go under each of the vertical bars, but we're not going to pick up a loop in the left leg of the stitch. Instead, we're going to go into the next chain and pick up a loop. We should have 7 loops on our hook, and we yarn over and pull through 2, all the way back until we have 1 stitch left on our hook. And we're going to repeat this row until we have 5 total rows on this square. Now that I have 5 total rows, I'm going to slip stitch in each of the vertical bars across and into the same chain as the last stitch that we worked. Pull up some yarn here. Now we're going to pick up a loop in each of the next 6 chains, and we're going to complete the second square as we did the first square. So that was the 4th row. I'm on my 5th row, and I'm just going to slip stitch across, picking up a chain in the next one, or picking up a loop in the next chain, working my return pass, and now I'm going to slip stitch in each of the stitches across and into the very last chain worked. Now at this point, you should have two squares and one triangle. To work our last triangle, we're going to pick up a stitch in each of the next 6 chains. All right, so for our final triangle, I've went ahead and picked up all 6 loops in each of the remaining 6 chains, and I have 7 loops on my hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through 2 all the way until we get back and just have 1 loop on our hook. Then we'll pick up loops in each of the next 5 vertical bars. Here's the trick. We're not going to pick up a loop in that final stitch. We're not going to work that final stitch. Instead, we're just going to yarn over, pull through 2, and work our return pass. So on our next row, we're going to pick up loops in each of the next 4 Tunisian simple stitches, and then yarn over, pull through 2 4 times. Pick up stitches in each of the next 3 vertical bars, and then pull through 2 3 times. In each of the next 2 vertical bars, and pull through 2 2 times. And then we'll pick up a stitch in our last vertical bar, and then we'll pull through 2. Then we chain 1, and we break our yarn. And that is how you work the first strip of your Tunisian crochet entrelac. Now it's going to want to curl, it's going to want to pull on itself, but don't worry, that's all going to even out as we continue to work. All right, so let's work our second strip. Next, we need to work our second strip. To work your second strip, you're going to put a slip knot on your hook and insert your hook into the slip stitch that's in the upper right-hand corner with the right side facing of your first triangle. And you'll just join with a slip stitch. Then, working into the vertical bars of the last row of that first triangle, we're going to pick up stitches in each of the next 5 vertical bars. At this point, you'll have 6 loops on your hook, the slip stitch and the 5 loops from the 5 vertical bars. Then, insert your hook into the row end. So you'll be able to see your first row, which is right here of that first square, and this is where the end of our row is. We're going to insert our hook there and pull up a loop. Then, yarn over, pull through 2, all the way back to the beginning. Pick up loops in each of the next 5 vertical bars. Then, into the next row end, we pick up a loop, and then we pull through 2. Again, we pick up loops in each of the next 5 vertical bars, into the next row end, and then we pull through 2, all the way back to the beginning. So we want to basically work this square here very similar to how we worked our first and second square of the first strip. The only difference is, instead of picking up loops in the chains, we're picking up loops in the row ends of that first square. So this is my 5th row. I'm going to pick up a stitch in the very last row end, and then yarn over and pull through 2 all the way back to the beginning. Then I'll slip stitch in each of the vertical bars across. And then you'll see that to the left of your very last vertical bar, you don't have a row end, but you have that very first slip stitch of that first square on the previous strip. We're going to insert our hook into and under that slip stitch and do another slip stitch. Then, working in these vertical bars, we're going to pick up stitches and work across. Now you're going to complete the second and this third square exactly as we did the first square. And that will finish off your second strip. All right, so for your third strip, I have my first and second strip here completed, and you can see that I did my second strip in white. I'm going to do my third strip in green, even though I already did my second strip in green on the last sample, but I like it for the pop of color and the contrast that it shows. So I have my slip knot on my hook. I'm going to find where I joined my yarn on my previous strip, which was at the top of that first triangle of our very first strip. And there, I'm going to join with a slip stitch, chain one, and single crochet into that same space. Then, just like we did with our first triangle of our first strip, I'm going to insert my hook into the left leg of that stitch. Then I'm going to insert my hook into the first row end of the previous strip, the very first square. And I'll have 3 loops on my hook, and I yarn over and pull through 2 twice. Then I go under that vertical bar, and I pick up a stitch in that left loop of that previous stitch, and then I go into the next row end, and I pull up a loop with 4 loops on my hook. I yarn over and pull through 2 3 times. You're going to continue just as we did for that very first triangle of that very first strip, and increase all the way until you have a total of 7 loops on your hook. So here's 4, 5, 6 loops, and then we pull through 2 5 times. I go under the next 4 vertical bars, into the next stitch, into the next row end. With 7 loops on my hook, I yarn over and I pull through 2. So now that I've finished my very last row and I have 5 total rows of that first triangle there, I'm going to slip stitch in each of my Tunisian simple stitches across. And then just as we did on the last strip, I'm going to insert my hook under and in that slip stitch, pull up a loop and create a slip stitch. Now I'm going to work the next 2 squares just as I did on the previous row. My final triangle is going to be worked exactly the same as the last triangle on my first strip. So you'll just go back in the video and watch that if you want a tutorial on how to do that, just as a refresher. But you're going to finish it just the same. Basically, don't work into the final stitch, and that decreases a stitch for you. And that's pretty much all there is to your Tunisian Entrelec. After you get your block done, you're going to have multiple rows, and you'll notice that both your bottom and your top are going to have these jagged edges. Well, we need to put something in these edges to square it up. So for that, I like to work kind of like half Entrelec triangles. I'm going to place a slip knot on my hook, and then I'm going to join my yarn in the upper corner of the triangle that you'll have on either end. Now, on this particular sample, I'm working into the opposite side of the foundation chain, but you'll also repeat the steps if you're working for your final row. So I work my slip stitch, and then I'm going to pick up stitches in each of the next 5 slip stitches. Or sorry, simple stitches. I keep calling them slip stitches, I apologize. Then you'll find your row end and you'll pick up a stitch, just as we've done for pretty much every row. You'll have 7 loops on your hook, and you'll yarn over and pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, and when you have 3 loops left on your hook, you'll yarn over and pull through 3. Now we're going to skip this very it would be considered our second stitch, our first vertical bar. We're going to skip that one, and then we're going to go into each of the next 4 vertical bars, into the next row end, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 3. Skip that first vertical bar and go into the next one, into the next row end, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 3. Skip the first vertical bar, into the next 2 vertical bars, into the next row end, pull through 2, and then pull through 3. Skip the first vertical bar, pick up a stitch in the next vertical bar, into your last row end, and then pull through 3. At this point here, you can either slip stitch into the same row end, or you can just keep working into the Tunisian simple stitches. I like to go into the row end, and then you pick up stitches in each of the next 5 vertical bars, into the next row end, and then again pull through 2, until you have 3 stitches left on your hook, and then you pull through 3. You always skip that first vertical bar and go into the one after that. So you'll repeat this process for 3 triangles at the bottom, 3 triangles at the top, and then you'll put your single crochets around and your 3 single crochets in each corner. Well, friends, that is it. I can't believe that 3 weeks have just flown by, and we have all 9 of our Tunisian Delight Sampler blocks complete. You conquered Entrelec, cables, and lace this week. You should be incredibly proud of yourself. Now remember, you can find all the links to everything you need in the description down below. We have blog posts, our PDF downloads, the free patterns, everything you need is down there. While you're there, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and like this video. If you ever have any questions, you can always join our Crochet Club group on Facebook. The link to that is in the description down below. You can follow me on Instagram as well and send me a DM, or just leave a comment on this video and I'll get back to you. Now next week we're going to tackle seaming all of these squares together, finishing our border, and working our cross stitch on our Tunisian simple stitch block. I'll even have a really fun download so you can customize your cross stitch for whoever you're making this blanket for. I can't wait. It's going to be a blast. Thank you guys so much for joining me this week and joining me every week. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a wonderful week, a wonderful day, all those good things, and you have lots and lots of happy stitching. Bye, guys.